Hi there, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Hive. I'm Lorena, and this is our Tuesday talk. I'm just going to jump right into it today because there's a lot to cover. It might get a little sciencey, but I'm trying to make it as understandable as possible. I've also been talking to some doctors and nurses to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly so that I can share with you correctly. So I'm just going to jump right into it. The truth is, most doctors meant well. They gave us birth control because they didn't know what else to do. They weren't trained to recognize menopause as something that needed immediate medical intervention. It wasn't a life-threatening illness or injury that needed treatment or cure. It was just a mild inconvenience. And because of that, millions of women were misinformed, underserved, and left to suffer. No one taught our doctors how to walk us through this. Not in med school, not in residency, maybe an hour of continuing education. They suppressed our symptoms without supporting our hormones because that's what they were taught to do. But here's what every woman deserves to hear. First, do no harm applies to us too. The harm we've endured, physical, mental, or invisible, wasn't from neglect, it was from being dismissed, and that changes today.
Pillar 1. The Flawed WHI Study, 2002.
In 2002, the Women's Health Initiative published a study that terrified doctors and women. It linked hormone therapy to increased risk of breast cancer, blood clots, heart disease, and stroke. What most people don't know, this study used synthetic hormones, specifically Premarin, which is pregnant mare urine, Premarin, estrogen collected from pregnant mares in locked facility stalls, and Provera, a synthetic progestin. And the women in the study were on average 63 years old, well past the window when starting hormone therapy is safest. Doctors panicked, prescriptions were pulled, and women were left in the dark.
Pillar 2. The Real Science Now.
More recent studies, like the Early versus Late Intervention Trial, or ELITE, and KEEP's Chronos Early Estrogen Prevention Study, have shown that when bioidentical hormones are started in the right window within 10 years of menopause or under the age of 60, they can protect heart health, support cognitive function, improve bone density, and restore energy, libido, mood, and sleep. The difference? These studies used hormones that match what our bodies naturally produce, not horse urine and synthetic chemicals.
Pillar 3. Timing and type matter.
Hormone therapy is not one size fits all. If started too late, like after the age of 65, the risks can outweigh the benefits. But when it's started timely, within 10 years of menopause, when symptoms first start appearing, it can be life-changing. The type matters too. Transdermal estrogen, like patches or creams, are often safer than oral pills because they avoid the liver. Micronized progesterone, like Prometrium, is gentler and protective of the uterine lining. If you've had a hysterectomy, you don't even need progesterone because its main function is to keep your uterine lining from thickening. Vaginal bioidentical hormone creams like estradiol and estriol are especially effective for local tissue support, benefiting vaginal health, intimacy, and bladder function. Compared to oral estrogen, vaginal estrogen creams are often prescribed in lower doses, and that makes them potentially safer for women. It's a safer option. The vagina is a highly vascular area, allowing for rapid and efficient absorption of hormones from vaginal bioidentical hormone replacement therapy creams and bypasses breakdown in the liver. The form you use should match your specific needs, not what's just easiest to prescribe.
Pillar 4. Why bioidentical is better.
Bioidentical hormones are chemically identical to what your body makes, generated in a lab using plant sources. They are phytoestrogens that do not directly convert into estrogen but mimic its effects. It's a plant-derived compound that can bind to estrogen receptors in the body. Your cells recognize them. They fit the receptors like a key in a lock. Compare that to synthetics. They're similar, but not the same. Synthetic hormones bind harder, linger longer, and cause unintended side effects. Bioidentical HRT is more precise, often better tolerated, associated with lower risks, and available through trusted compounding and FDA-approved sources. Let's be clear. Bioidentical does not mean unregulated. It means tailored, evidence-based care.
Pillar 5. You deserve an individualized plan.
Your hormone therapy should fit you, not your neighbor, not a checklist, not a one-pill-fits-all approach. A good provider will look at your age, your symptoms, your family history, your goals, and your comfort level. You may only need estrogen or a low-dose patch or vaginal estrogen alone. If you've ever been told you're estrogen dominant, it might not mean what you think. Often it's tied to the hypothalamus. As the ovaries stop producing eggs, that little spot in your brain panics and signals the pituitary gland to release FSH, that's your follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone, in an attempt to produce more estrogen. Meanwhile, testosterone, also recognizing that you're lower on estrogen, will convert to estrogen in the fat cells. So you have all of these brain symptoms telling all of your little glands, hey, we need to flood this body with estrogen. So it's creating estrogen here and there, and that is what causes that estrogen spike. But it's not the whole picture. Adding more estrogen through bioidentical HRT quiets the hypothalamus so that it's not trying to release the LH and the FSH, and then the testosterone is able to stay as testosterone, protecting our muscle tone and our bone strength, because it's not converting to estrogen in our fat cells, because now we have the correct balance of estrogen that we are taking through a cream or a patch, whatever your choice is. But now that quiets that brain, it quiets those glands, and everything becomes more balanced. So ironically, adding more estrogen to your body actually then balances it and brings that spike of estrogen down. If you're struggling to explain this to your doctor, here's what the Inner Balance team told me when I asked how to have this conversation with my doctor.
Hi, Lorena. Remember, most gynecologists are not hormone specialists. Dr. Dacaret and the Inner Balance team are your dedicated providers for hormone support. It's completely understandable that your gynecologist may have questions, but it's not your responsibility to educate her, especially on something outside her specialty. She's great at what she does, so let her shine in her area, and let Dr. D be the one guiding your hormone enrichment. Just like you'd go to an endocrinologist or a cardiologist for specialized care, the same applies here. Hormone Health has its own expert.
When I read that, wow, I exhaled. Like, finally, someone said what I didn't even know what I needed to hear. Now, you might not need hormones at all, but you should be offered the choice, regardless of whether or not you've gone through your 12 months of menopause.
Pillar 6. It was the hormones all along.
Hormones don't just cause symptoms. They are the root cause behind most of the symptoms we've had in midlife, and probably since we've had when we were in puberty. Surely I can't be the only one who made questionable life decisions based on my hormones. And don't call me Shirley. But seriously, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy treats the cause of the symptoms so that you're not just treating each symptom individually. If we can balance the root cause, the hormones that cause the symptoms, then all of those symptoms will then also balance out. Low libido, hormones. Stress, mood swings, depression, anxiety, hormones. Hot flashes, night sweats, hormones. If we can balance the hormones, all of those symptoms also become balanced. Here's your bonus. When your body doesn't have to create more estrogen by converting testosterone to estrogen in our fat cells, that preserves the testosterone to do what it needs to do for our bone health, for our muscle tone and muscle strength, mental clarity, hair retention, even things like acne and avoiding osteopenia and osteoporosis. It's not just about feeling better right now. It's about rebuilding the foundation from the inside out. So I've recently started on bioidentical HRT because after years of frustration, some questionable life choices, some recent brain fog and anxiety and fatigue in the middle of the afternoon, I finally found a provider who listened. My primary care physician at Scott & White Santa Fe encouraged me to become a menopause coach in the first place, and that sent me down the educational path that I'm on now, and that I'm hopefully bringing you along with me as I learn all of this stuff. And so through those studies, I came across Sarah Dacaret with Inner Balance Health, and I found her through a podcast. It's literally the only one podcast I ever listen to regularly. It's CVG's Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. And Dr. Dacaret was a guest speaker on there. And her message just really hit home. And the timing was just so perfect. It was kismet because as I was studying this, I found a specialist who was answering the questions that I couldn't find anywhere else. So that's just Jesus having my back. I realized I didn't have to suffer, settle, or stay silent. There were options, real science-backed, compassionate options. So that's when I decided to give Oestra a try. It's Oestra. It's a bioidentical hormone therapy tailored to my body's needs. I'm only a couple of weeks in, but I already feel more clear-headed. I have energy throughout the day. I don't need my afternoon bang just to make it to 5 o'clock. The care team is in frequent contact, God love them, to answer all of the questions that I've had. And I understand that it can take a few months to get the full benefits, but I've only been on it a couple of weeks and I'm already feeling better. And rest assured, I will take you along for further information to let you know how it's going for me along the way, so that you too can reach out for assistance if you feel that this is a good option for you also. Dr. Sarah even does live Q&A webinars where you can ask her questions and have those answered directly in real time. She's a doctor who gets it, finally. A doctor who listens, and we can be finally heard. Curious to learn more or explore your personalized options? I've linked the Inner Balance website and the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast that got me going all down this line of education in the first place in the comments below. Check them out. No pressure, just possibilities, so that you are educated enough to not rely on debunked old science and you know what's actually going on with bHRT today, because no one deserves to walk this road alone. For my breast cancer warriors, if you've had breast cancer, your path may look different, but you are not without options. While systemic estrogen may not be appropriate, localized options do exist. Vaginal estrogen creams or suppositories like estriol or low-dose estradiol can be used safely in many cases to treat vaginal dryness, pain with intimacy, recurrent UTIs, or genitourinary syndrome of menopause, GSM. Always speak with your oncologist and menopause literate provider, because suffering in silence isn't strength, it's suppression. And you deserve care that honors your full story. We all do. We've been shamed, silenced, and shoved aside, but not anymore. We're not crazy, we're just hormonal, and we're evolving. We deserve evidence-based care, access to real solutions, and the right to feel like ourselves again. You've heard the myths, you've felt the effects, you've been told to shrink, to settle, to stay quiet. But now you're not invisible, you're not dismissed, and you are finally heard. Hormone therapy isn't about vanity, it's about vitality. Whether you choose it or not, you deserve to make that decision, that educated decision with truth on your side and not based on long ago debunked scary stories that are still floating around. You're worthy of care, you're worthy of answers, and you are absolutely worthy of thriving at any age. So that's all I have today. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments below and help each other flourish. And before you go, remember, you are strong, you are vibrant, you are charming, you are heard, and you are loved. I'll see y'all next Tuesday.
You've never